A footnote found in Muhammad Assad's translation of Quran 1980 emphasizes that Prophet Muhammad intensely detested the idea of beating one's wife. In the same footnote, Assad cites the saying of the Prophet, "Never beat Allah's handmaidens." In addition, he adds that most scholars agree that any beating should be symbolic, using something like her handkerchief, which cannot leave any marks or cause injury, or can only be resorted to if the wife committed an immoral or lewd act. Remember the context. Now, we got to look at culture here. Now, Dr. Sheikh Taha Jabbar al-Wani, who was my teacher for 3 years, talks about fiqh minority. We have to understand who this was addressed to. It was addressed to a group of people that prior to Islam they buried their daughters alive. Now if I take my little hanky, you know they say chivalry, a man should always take a handkerchief so if a woman's crying he can give it to her. That's chivalry. One definition of it. That's a disappeared chivalry. Probably most of us don't even have a handkerchief anymore. But now how effective would it be if I said, "Naran, you shouldn't have kissed that man," and wave my little handkerchief out? She might start laughing at me. Now the other one is, another scholar says I can use my miswak. Everybody knows that's a little toothpick, right? That people leave in their pockets, the nasty thing they had in their mouth, and they leave it for everybody to see, and then they hug you and that spit gets all over you. I never understood that, but anyway, put the thing in a plastic bag, for God's sake. And then pull it out and use it and put it back in a plastic bag, but don't rub your spit all over my jelly bean. Alright? But anyway, this jelly, so imagine me saying, "Naran, you shouldn't be kissing that man." Boop, and hit her on the hand with my little miswak. 1437 years later. Allahu Alam. I don't think it's going to be very effective. She might think I'm losing it.
Believe me, I lost it if I kissed another man.
Yeah, you have. I'll put you in the hospital. Different translations have been affected by cultural and historical contexts in which the interpreters and translators of the Quran lived. The same word daraba is used in the Quran with multiple contexts and meanings. Interpreting the word to mean hit or strike conflicts with the understanding of the material relationship that is derived from a holistic reading of the Quran and teachings of the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Surah 2 verse 231, "And when you divorce women," listen to the context, "and they have reached the end of their waiting term, 3 mitzvahs, then either retain them honorably or let them go honorably, and do not retain them against their will to harm or hurt them, or take undue advantage of them. If anyone does that, he wrongs and darkens his own soul. Do not treat Allah's signs as a joke, and remember the grace of Allah upon you, and what He has sent down upon you from the book and the wisdom contained within it, that He might caution you by it. So safeguard yourselves for Allah, and know that Allah knows all things." Chapter 2, 231 is a command from Allah to men that when one of them divorces his wife with the reversible divorce, he should treat her kindly during her iddah. Why do we have iddah?
Make sure she's not pregnant.
To make sure she's not pregnant. Does this apply to a woman who is postmenopausal?
No.
So if we have a woman that's postmenopausal, has no children, and nobody to look after her, are we going to say, "Oh, astaghfirullah, the Quran said you got to wait 3 periods"? Well, if you don't have periods, how can you wait 3? You're going to be waiting till the day of judgment. Because they're not going to come back, I don't believe. Got any doctors in the room? Do they usually come back after menopause? What percentage of time? Can anybody answer that question? After menopause, do they come back? What is the context, folks? We've got to look at the context. I have people come and say, "I can't do anything. I can't leave this relationship." The command explicitly prohibits men from inflicting any harm, any injury, darar, or disadvantaging their wives during times of conflict, and specifically divorce. What I have seen is that when divorce is mentioned, the claws come out. The guillotine comes out. The arsenal comes out. All kinds of things come out. In Hans Ware, a dictionary of modern written Arabic, page 538. In Al-Mawrid, the Arabic English dictionary on page 511, I got these definitions that I've shared with you. It goes without saying that harm is not to be inflicted during times of peace. The three-step process found in Surah 4 verse 34 should be viewed as a part of a larger process of conflict management and can be applied when safety is established. People, listen to me. If you are in a domestic violence situation, do not go into counseling with your abuser, because they will be angry when you go home and they will abuse you again. Over and over and over again, people come to me and say, please, Imam, please, you're the only one that can help me, and they try to manipulate me. And I'll say, no, I can't help you, sister, because when I get a hold of your husband, he's not going to be happy with me, and he's sure he's going to be happy with you. Until he can accept responsibility for what he's doing, you should not be with him, because you are the footstool of paradise. Allah elevated you. And no sister should ever be beaten. No sister should ever be treated as an unequal. Verse 35 of Surah 4 outlines the arbitration process to be employed when divorce is imminent. Folks, if divorce is not even imminent, how in the world can we jump to even a more stringent treatment than recommended for divorce? Divorce says with kindness and equity. Either maintain them equitably or let them go. Each partner is to appoint a neutral and trustworthy arbitrator from his or her family to help work through the issues with the ultimate goal of reconciliation whenever possible. That's the goal, not to bring out more wrongs. And that's what these people usually do. Surah 4:35, if you fear a breach between them both, appoint two arbiters, one from his family and the other from hers, if they wish for peace. Listen, folks, you can't just read the first part of the verse and say, that's what Allah says. You got to read the whole verse. Because a lot of people in your families don't wish for peace. They wish to punish that other person for what they did. Or hang them out to dry. You've got to read the whole verse. If they wish for peace, then that tells you that they are worthy to be an arbiter. Allah will cause their reconciliation if you wish for peace. But if you want to get together and bring out the dirt and see who had the most dirt, you're not going to get any peace that way. Reconciliation should only be encouraged when neither party is being subjected to abuse and when safety is absolutely guaranteed. These conditions can only be met after abusers have taken the appropriate steps to change abusive attitudes and behaviors. Because abusers most of the time actually think that what they're doing is okay. They think that they've been given the God-given right to be in control, and that they've been given the God-given right to have power over a female. And I'm saying that because 85% of the cases are females. The overarching juristic maxim, there is to be no harm done or reciprocation of harm, must be observed at all times. A verse that has been used to justify sexual abuse is found in Surah 2 in verse 223. Your wives are a tilth unto you, so approach your tilth when and how you will. But do some good act for your souls beforehand. And fear Allah. And know that you are to meet Him in the hereafter. What is the tilth? Does anybody know the definition of the word tilth? Now let me help you out here. I'm from a farming family. We till the soil to make it ready for fertilization. The tilth is a place of fertilization. And because of various ages in this class today, I am trying to give this the dignity for which it must be given because it comes from Allah. The place of fertilization is the place where the sperm meets the egg. Does everybody understand that? Is that pretty dignified in that manner? When the first part of this verse is taken out of context, men who are abusive use it to manipulate their wives into submitting to acts that are uncomfortable, undesirable, or even prohibited in Islam. And it happens far too often. The second part of this verse declares that the sexual part of a relationship incorporates a spiritual aspect and accountability. Allah is a witness to it, and both spouses will be held accountable. Another misused hadith by husband is if a husband calls his wife to bed and she refuses, causing him to go to sleep angry, the angels will curse her till the morning. This hadith merely points out the importance of a wife accommodating her husband's sexual needs. It does not give him the right to ignore her needs or force her to have relationships with him. So in other words, if you're a shepherd, if you're a garment to your wife and she says, I've got a headache, you don't say, brace yourself, I got my rights. But let me tell you something, folks. We're laughing, but it's happened. I've had people tell me in my office about it. It's so painful for me because I think, oh my God, what if that was my daughter? What if that had been my mother? One of these states that when spouses make love, it should be as if they had provided a banquet for each other. Far too often in Islam, it is reported to me that the situation lasts a couple of minutes. And when that happens, my beloved sisters feel like receptacles. You see this thing on the wall over here? Well, when I want my computer to charge, I just stick it in there and then I take it out. For the sole reason of my computer being charged. But there's no benefit to the receptacle. Both parties are to be satisfied. And some of you may be struggling because I'm doing my very best to give this dignity. But the young people need to hear this. The young people that are going to get married need to hear this. We need to stop avoiding teaching what the Quran and the Sunnah has in store for us. The doing something good in this verse is the praying of 2 rakats. A husband will be punished for neglecting his spouse. One of the companions of the Prophet Muhammad ﷺ was admonished for spending the whole night in prayer with a reminder that his wife has a right over him. Within the Islamic paradigm of a healthy marriage, neither partner should deny the other the right to have their physical needs met. Providing mutual satisfaction and fulfillment in the relationship, making sure no harm or pain is caused to the other, is indicated beautifully in the metaphor in Surah 2, verse 187. They are your garments, and you are their garments. Garments make you feel comfortable, not uncomfortable. I don't believe anybody wants a garment that creates pain. Anybody here go out to Nordstrom's, Dillard's, Macy's, or whatever looking for garments that will make you uncomfortable? I didn't think so.
So even brothers.
Often Muslims confuse cultural norms, beliefs, and attitudes about gender roles with Islamic teaching and beliefs. The majority of countries highly populated by Muslims support misogyny and oppress women in many ways. In these cultures, women are marginalized, and men and women are socialized to accept the position of women as inferior. And it's a lie from hell. It's not from Allah. It's not an Islamic character when you think this way. This encourages and facilitates abuse and violence towards females. And if you perpetuate it in your home, your daughter will become a victim. These oppressive attitudes are reminiscent of the era prior to Islam when women did not have rights. Prior to Islam, women were considered property of men, and female infanticide was common. Islam raised women to be equal to men and does not burden them with the original sin. Islam gave women the right to vote, inherit, own property, be educated, obtain a divorce, hold positions of leadership in society. I only have one more slide. I know I'm 2 minutes past. Can you hang in there? Islam elevated women's status as a mother through the teaching of the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Paradise lies at the feet of the mother. Once a young man, thank you. Once a young man asked the Prophet, who is most deserving of my respect? He said, your mother. The young man said again, then who? The Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam said, your mother. The young man asked a third time, then who? The Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam said, your mother. The young man asked the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam the fourth time, and he replied, your father. Is this the text that we're seeing manifest and realize in our community? And if it's not, how many are going to join me in changing, in speaking up when you see this and it's not there? Let me see your hand, men and women. Equality. When you see it.
What about when the man just see this verse about their mother, not their wives? What is the approach? Because their wives are the mothers for their children. So what is the...
You take them back to the equality and justice verses, a garment. Because on the day of judgment there are three people. And if somebody can help me with this, I'll welcome you. A woman can complain to Allah for her father, her husband, her brother, and her son for not teaching her Islam. Right?
Yes.
This is authentic, folks. This is the responsibility of men. Can you imagine on the day of judgment when a woman stands before God and God knows that the men abused that, and then she's going to say, and they didn't teach me. They didn't create a space in the masjid for me to come and learn. They didn't even create a space in the home to teach. They didn't even teach. Matter of fact, they didn't even pray, but they expected me to do everything right. I want to say that I know that your hearts might be a little heavy after this. And I've asked Abila to pass around some stats that I want you to look at. I thank you for being patient with me and letting me go 5 minutes past. I want 2 more minutes. If this is going on in your home or in your family, do not push people to do things until they are ready to do it. They have to be ready, folks. Do not try to take matters in your hand. If you do anything, you want to do anything, tell them to get on the website and look for Harbor House, call the 800 number, and get some help. Whether you're a male being abused or a female. I love you all for the sake of Allah. If I have offended you today, and what I said was right, I don't ask you to forgive me. But if I have offended you and I was wrong, I beg your forgiveness. And I ask Allah to continue to guide me and to direct me and to fill me We have got to change this, folks. I beg you, stand up for justice as witnesses for Allah. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.